Welcome to the Newfangled Workshop podcast. Before we get into it, let's hear a little disclaimer.
The views expressed here are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of the United States Military Academy, the United States Army, or the Department of Defense.
All right, well, welcome to the third episode of the Newfangled Workshop. We have the gathering of the brothers once again. I'm Led Klosky.
I'm Stephen Glosky.
And I get to be Matt Klasky from Minnesota this week.
Awesome. And today we're going to be talking about projects that we have done. And the specification is you can talk about the project, but you've also got to talk about something that went wrong with your project. So I'm going to feature a project I'm quite proud of, but of course, not everything went perfect throughout the course of the project. So I'll be talking about a shed I built this last summer. Stephen, what are you going to be talking about?
I've got a skid plate for a 2012 Mustang that I built.
A skid plate. Why have you been skidding in your Mustang? Usually skid plates are on like four-wheel drive or like a Land Rover or something.
Yeah, so my youngest son is doing rallycross, which is sort of an off-road racing style a motorsport.
Don't you have to get in a Suzu or a Subaru for that? I didn't think you were allowed to do that in a
Subaru, or
Mustang.
apparently an old BMW 318 is the preferred model, but
I thought there was the Luca or something like that, right? The big white one with the red and the
What you need is a Russian Lada. That's what you need.
A Lada, it's beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful car. You could put a skid plate on that and no one would care. I think they wouldn't even know.
It is a skid plate.
Yeah, the whole car is a skid plate. Actually, I'm not supposed to be making fun of the Russians. We can talk about that again later, and why not? But, anyway,
very good.
Different story. So let's say Steven, I got the shed. Steven's got the unlikely. Does it have wide slick tires on the back of it while you're doing the motocross or whatever it is that you're doing with it, Steven?
This is a whole tires and race cars. You can talk about those for hours. But
yeah, let's not do that. Let's not do that.
The preferred tire is a rally tire that you would use for official rally, and it's got very specific ways that it's built.
Probably expensive. Sure. Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah. And you get them from England, apparently.
Is it a bespoke tire? Like there's a guy in England who wears an apron and makes one at a time?
Yeah, leather apron. Yeah.
Leather apron, makes one at a time with tweezers. So, all right. And so, Matthew, I think we've heard enough about skid plates. What are you going to be talking about?
I built a set of dresser drawers, and maybe it's called a chest. I don't know exactly the name of the piece of furniture. I took an existing piece of furniture and then I built it in my style based on the existing piece. So I have some figured cherry that's prominent in the piece, and then there's some special exotic woods that I'll highlight as we talk about it in the project. So I'll be talking about a set of dresser kind of thing that I made.
Cool. And I think that, if we talked about process for every project, we'd probably be here until midnight, which would be cool, but might not make for an awesome podcast.
Yeah, we would get some drop off in the viewership, I think.
Yeah, well, we've already got that, so we're well on our way. But I'll talk process because of course the process is really what makers are into, right? Like once the thing is built, it's like, oh, okay, wonderful. Somebody can go do motocross with their Mustang that was never intended for that or whatever. Sorry, I can't get over the idea of a Mustang doing motocross, Stephen. It's not motocross, sorry, it's rally car.
Rallycross.
Rallycross. Oh, okay. I'm never going to get that right throughout this entire phone call, I promise. So I'm going to show a little bit of process. But first I got to share my screen here and hopefully you guys will be able to see it. So here we go. One of the main things that I use for whenever I'm doing projects, I use SketchUp pretty extensively. There's a lot of great tutorials for it on the web. It's not too expensive to own the pro version. And you can get your dimensions very close to right. It's not like AutoCAD or SolidWorks or MicroStation or something like that, in that it doesn't do a perfect job with all the dimensions, but it's good to about a 1/16 of an inch, which is good enough for me for the kind of stuff I do. And you can see here's the shed, you know, and it's got the clerestory obviously is much more detailed than the rest of the shed. Most of what's below the level of the rafters is just a pretty plain vanilla frame, right? So that's just, you know, 2x4 stick built, a couple of windows, a big barn door in the front. But the complicated part of the job was up here in the clerestory. And so all of these dimensions from the custom windows I built here and a lot of these pieces of what we'll call the stick-on truss, because the main truss that's wood colored here was built first. And then those were stood up in place. And then I added the parts which make up the clerestory. And the clerestory is this running set of 4 windows right here that ran across the top. The rough dimensions of this thing are 12 by 16. So it's 16, the floor inside is 12 by 16 exactly to get, so the plywood all works out. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
So I'm looking at your SketchUp model here that you've done, and it's quite beautiful. You've built some windows, and there's you even put some like slate tiles on or something on the roof there. I'm going to recommend you upgrade the siding. Like it seems like it's very open to the elements right now, and we could have.
I'm afraid of ghosts, and I thought that if you put sides on it, the ghosts will get trapped inside, and then you'll be trapped inside with the ghosts. So that's no good.
I'm just saying, if you're going to put the windows in, you want to be watertight, I would think. Is there going to be some sheathing on the outside of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go. So I think Matthew's suggesting maybe we go on from the SketchUp to something else. So I'll do that. And let's see. I think I have to come down here and stop sharing. New share. And I'm going to do my new share. I'm going to go to some photos I have of the actual project. There it is on sort of day 1 in July 23. You know, the ubiquitous chop saw, which is a super great tool. This thing I've had it at least 20 years, and it's been doing great service. Got the pancake compressor out there and all kinds of air tools on the job. I've been slowly converting to battery tools, but there's some stuff you just can't beat an air tool for with a big framing nailer.
Yeah, no. The pass loads do not. Yes, the marketing says they're excellent, but the pass load air cartridge filters, barf.
Yeah, it's just like when you need a Hilti, when you need a Hilti with those 22 rounds in it to fire nails into concrete, you're just not going to do that with a battery powered tool. That takes gunpowder, right? And so the next step down from gunpowder is the pancake compressor here. And you can see I've stood up the first wall. You've got the all important wind braces on there. There it is. And Matthew, I did put siding on it, of course. I did T111 siding on it, and detailing that siding. What do they say? Amateurs talk about facades, pros talk about flashing, right? So the flashing and caulk to get this right, to make sure that your T111 doesn't deteriorate over time is really important, right? So you got to detail all those edges to make sure that the edges on your T111, which just soak up water, aren't sitting there just taking a sip every time it rains, or else your T111 will be ruined super quick. And you can see those trusses I talked about going on up top.
You didn't want to use the T112s?
No, I went T111, like there's a T123 for, like the year 20. No, Matthew, it's all T111. And then I spray it, right? So I actually bought an air sprayer for this, and it's worked really well, right? So all this paint that you see going up here is mostly done with an air sprayer.
So is that like an HLVP, what is it? High volume, HVLP, high volume, low pressure paint gun? It's like a Wagner paint gun from back in the day.
Yeah, it's got a blower unit and a hose, and then it's got a head on it that sprays paint everywhere. I don't know what the heck. I could give you more details on it if I knew them, but I don't know. It just does a really good job of spraying paint, and it was about $200 at Home Depot for the unit, and I got a lot of use out of it on this job.
And it's got a little needle on it, and you can adjust the spray using the needle.
Yep, and you got to use that stuff called flood inside of it, right? There's this, for cutting the paint to make sure that it's at the right density when you're spraying it.
The generic term for that is flow control.
Yeah, maybe it's called Flow-Trol is the name of the stuff or something. I don't know. I can never remember all the names of that stuff. But anyway, it comes in a red bucket. You get it at Home Depot. It's like pure latex, and you pour it in with the paint, and it makes it thin to shoot properly. I think it's called Flood. It's the stuff I used. So a lot of ladder safety here. One of the things that I thought was really great is I got these ledgers up here that go up underneath the shingles and allow you to put a set of footboards up there. And I did use a fall harness the whole time I was up on the roof. So, you know, in the photo there, even I'm wearing a fall harness, because once you're up above about 8 feet, you really should be wearing something.
So let me add you prompted the question then. Talk to me about the building permit. Was this shed large enough to require the
Absolutely.
inspector to come out?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And I still got the permit hanging on the side of the house. I got a little bit of painting still to do. And I figured, you know, we'll make it an official building sometime in the early spring here. And you can see there's hanging the windows on there. I had to build those windows. Those windows are customs and I used biscuit joints. Sorry, Matt, on a lot of that. I know I could have used
Why are you sorry?
well, because I know I could have used some sort of fancy furniture joint on there, you know, finger joint or a rabbit joint
No,
or
no, no, no. You want a
you know,
rail and style.
a running skull joint or whatever the heck is in
No.
the
You want to
woodwork
use
magazine.
a rail and style joint. It's two router bits. They match together very well. The correct way to do that would be with a rail and style bit set.
So I came really close to doing that, and I was actually just about to start doing that when I got out my biscuit joiner and did it that way.
I think that's spectacular. I would have been more upset had you broken out your Festool domino to put in the loose floating tenons.
Yeah. So that's how I put the windows together. I'm pretty happy with that. I used a lot of 5/4 board on this. A little bit extravagant, probably added $100 to the project, but the 5/4 board looks absolutely great for some of the trim around the doors and windows, and all the overhead windows were built out of 5/4. The advantage of 5/4 is it's pretty much dead straight, and you got flat sides on the stuff. So Home Depot is now stocking that 5/4, and I like it quite a lot.
And you went still natural wood. You didn't go with one of the composite or polymer
Man, I don't
options.
want to inhale that stuff.
Okay.
It's all too much plastic. And when it catches fire, the neighbors get mad. You know, it's just like that. So there's kind of the finished product there.
Led, I'm sure one of the things
Nice.
you have not mentioned yet is the build crew that you used for this. I believe you had some helpers that deserve some level of shout out. As we're a
Well,
very family-oriented show, I'd like to be inclusive.
yeah, my family did help out, passing shingles up, holding ladders, you know, holding the walls in place. Wind took a lot of the photos, and that was awesome. So it's been a good it was a good build, and it was a nice summer. I'm not always the easiest person to work with, so I'm always thankful for my helpers.
Are there footings involved here? How far down did you have to go in New York? You have to go down the 48 inches to hit the frost line?
No, no, nothing like that. The footers you can see this is a skid mounted. This is a skid mounted on temporary foundations. So if you go underneath, this is what you see. You see treated 2x4, and the treated 2x4 is sitting on a thick gravel base.
Wait,
You know,
wait.
so it's a
How'd you
lot like
prep
it's a lot
the
like a lot
gravel
of the
base?
sheds. If you went to Mr. Shed, this is what Mr. Shed delivers.
How did you prep the gravel base?
I use my snowplow. So I just
Okay.
I had the local quarry bring out. So first I cleared and grubbed. So I cleared out all the organic material that was on the surface, moved all the leaves and anything growing or like that. The bedrock is pretty shallow here where I live. And so then I had the local quarry bring out a 5-yard dump truck, and we did two of the 5-yard dump trucks. I use the 5-yarder because bringing in 18 yards will destroy your driveway. Right, those big gravel trucks are just too heavy. So I brought in the 5-yarder twice, even though it's a little more expensive to do it that way. And then I spread it out with the snowplow on my truck.
No compaction?
Because it's gravel, it tends to compact pretty tight just from an end dump. I did run over it a lot of times with the truck though. If this had been clay or silt or sand, you would have had to bring out a plate compactor, wet it down and compact it. But because it's gravel, it almost end dumps at its maximum density.
And then water management?
Yeah, so I one of the things that I owe to this shed this spring is gutters. But the gutters that I can buy myself are only I think I can get 12-foot lengths is the most I can get. And I didn't want an ugly seam on the gutter in the front of the thing. So I'm gonna go and get somebody to roll me some 16-foot gutters that I can hang without a seam. I know that that's picky, but that's where I'm at.
Very inexpensive, right? Like I always thought gutters would be way more expensive than they are. The guy who shows up with his gutter machine, very affordable operation.
Yeah, that's so I may just have him just come out and install them, but maybe I'll just go buy it from, you know, whoever can roll me the gutters I want.
And did you sort of mound up the gravel, or did you build a ditch system around the pad? Or
So the ground underneath the gravel slopes to the rear pretty steeply. And so
Mhm.
any water that hits the gravel is going to go to the bottom of the gravel and run out the back. So yes, I did grade it to drain. I graded it to drain. You definitely don't want water to pool on the natural soil below.
Gotcha.
So I cut a ditch, I cut a ditch right underneath where the door is, so that any water that runs through that gravel ends up down in that ditch.
I
Ah,
get
gotcha.
this picture that you're showing now on the screen. It doesn't show an electrical panel.
No, no electrical in the building. That keeps things much simpler. I'm just going to drag an extension cord out there when I need it.
Solar potentially? Could we put
I did put a solar light in the building. That was about $40 from Amazon, and the solar light is actually working great. It's got a little battery with it and a little tiny solar panel, and it
I
lights
just
the.
remember we spent a lot of time in episode 2 talking about lighting.
Yeah, and I have a motion detecting light with a little tiny battery inside of there, and it lights up like crazy.
Oh, but
Anyway,
you're
I've talked long enough. It's time to hand it over to, and also I want to hear about the Rally Cross. Yes, I got it right. The Rally Cross skid plate. So I'm going to stop sharing here.
I think it's autocross.
No, autocross is the pavement version of this same
Yeah,
skid.
come on, Matt, get it right.
Yeah.
Autocross, we get it.
And Steven was talking about tires earlier. I wanted to tease him. Even at the go-kart level, I understand the tires are the entire operation.
Oh yeah,
This
it's
is
the
motocross,
foundation.
Matt.
It's like a foundation with gravel for Formula One. Yeah, so I'm sharing my project. Yay.
Here we go.
Uh,
Yeah, man, you got way better graphics than me.
Yeah, so this is an album, and I can share out like a public link to it or something anyhow. But this car came with this skid plate here. Let's see if I make this bigger just to for can you guys see what I'm sharing?
100%. Yes.
Great.
That looks
Um,
like it's made of plastic, Steven.
This is the plastic one. And so the exercise was to clone the plastic skid plate in which is called a splash guard, and clone that into a metal skid plate, right?
Yeah, I don't know what you're skidding on with that isn't just like destroying the
Yeah.
plate.
Oh, it's a
So
splash guard. It's like a plastic piece of saran wrap.
Oh, okay.
yeah. Um, so hat tip to my twin sister, Cac, who taught me how to make patterns, right? So I took a big piece of like that presentation paper, on the flip chart paper, and I covered the plastic piece with it, right? And then I used scissors and I cut out all the discrete parts of the covered paper pattern. So this is a lot of body shops and people that fabricate things will use this technique, right? You guys tracking?
I'm tracking
Yeah.
100%. I got you.
Yeah. And then, yeah, just some more cutouts of, different dimensions, a lot of rulers and pictures. I do that a lot. Like if I'm scaling something or bringing it into CAD, I'll take pictures of something in the real world with a ruler behind it so I can bring it in on the CAD or whatever, right? And then I laid all the pieces out on my steel. Probably one of the mistakes I made was ordering way too much steel, but this is cold rolled mild steel, 1020 steel, I believe. 8th inch mild steel.
Ooh, wow. You didn't go like 12 gauge or something, 14 gauge. You went 8 inch.
This is, 11 gauge technically, right? 0.125,
Nice.
0.120, somewhere in that range, right? And then it looks like almost like a dress pattern to me, like when you sketch it out on the fabric on the steel, right?
Yeah.
And then there's just another perspective. And then I went in and I welded it all up. So I took the
No, no, no,
mid-rate.
no, 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 no. You skipped a step. You had a whole sheet with all of your markings on it, and then you gave no discussion as to the tin snips that you used to make this happen.
You're not
Oh,
doing 10 steps on 8th inch.
The big pair of tin snips. No, angle grinder. So I angle grinded all of it out. And
What?
yeah. So it's a sad story because I could have water jetted it or CNC
Yes.
plasma'd it, or there's 10 other processes, but just through life experience, I didn't have access to those tools at this particular point in time. So angle grinder it was, and the angle grinder did a fine job.
You would not do it that way again, is what I'm hearing.
Um, if that's all I had, that's what I would use.
Okay, fair
You
enough.
know?
Were you using the dangerous disc type angle grinder, like with the little thin disc?
Yeah, exactly. Some like the $10 Harbor Freight one with the like 1 mil disc in it.
And how many
Yeah, and those
discs?
things,
How
when
many
those
discs
things
did you go
blow
through?
apart, like the pieces get stuck in your face.
Yeah, blast shield, 100%.
Oh yeah.
Matt, you were
And
saying?
how many discs did you go through?
Maybe three to cut all this.
It looks like some very detailed work to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like cutting out a model or something, right?
So, Stephen, let me ask this. You mentioned the idea of not having access to the water jet right now, but you do a lot of CNC work. Was there any consideration to using a 3D scanner in order to get the dimensions into something like a SketchUp or a fabrication tool?
I started to do all that, and I just found this approach quicker and simpler,
Yep.
right?
We
I
co-
mean, if you fall back to early days in college, I watched Led and his friends build medieval armor with these
True.
sort of techniques, right? And patterning seems to be like the way to go, right? Um, you could do it with CNC totally, and build the patterns there. It's just sort of, how do I put it? It's like the upfront design work to get the precision that you need is for complicated compound curves and stuff. It's really time consuming in CAD, right? So I chose this method.
Perfect. Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Okay,
You can move on to your next slide now. I apologize for interrupting the lecture.
no worries. No worries, doctor. The so this is just like before the plastic piece on the left and then the metal piece on the right. And they're pretty close, not precise. Um, one challenge I had is my welding skills are mm, beginner to intermediate, and my beads weren't, beautiful when I made the beads. Let's see if I can probably blow
So,
it
so
up.
is this, and again, as a novice, I know very little about the welding world, but is this MIG, TIG,
MIG.
stick?
And this was a MIG process that I used.
Okay.
I don't know, man. It looks pretty good, Steven.
I think it looks
Uh,
perfect.
yeah, it's pretty good, right?
It
It's
needs some
somewhere
black paint.
intermediate,
It needs some
right?
black paint at this point.
Oh, so the ultimate goal here is I've got to strip all the what they call mill scale off of it, right? And I'm gonna powder coat it. I've got a powder coat rig.
Oh, so this is a recent piece.
Yeah, I built this in February. I probably installed it in early March,
Oh, so it's
right?
already installed on the vehicle.
Yeah, and that's that's the other side.
Oh, that
The
looks nice.
the show side looks great, right? Because there's no inside corners. It was easy to grind off the welds.
Yeah, there's
That's
a guy in Perth Amboy who can dip that, electroplate it with zinc and get it all galvanized up for you.
Oh, nice.
now,
That's what
Stephen.
we need.
I am noticing in the top right hand corner,
Oh, nice.
Go back.
in the top right hand corner of the plastic piece, there's a big wide opening that's missing in
Ah,
in your version.
yeah. So I did adjust the design a little bit. The original design, it's those two openings hang on two rails that run front to back in the car. So they hang on there, and then the fasteners on the front hold the front of the plastic piece to the underside of the car,
Okay.
right? And then to change the oil, you loosen the fasteners, let that flap like hang free, and then you can change the oil filter, right? And then and drain the oil. For the skid plate, that would rattle a lot because the back would sort of bounce a little bit, and metal on metal is going to sound like metal on metal, right? So,
Sure.
um, so I decided to go with a different technique to actually mount it. There are 4 locations where I put essentially U-bolts into the to hang it like a muffler from 2 structural members under the car.
Understood.
And I used 5/16 inch hardware store grade bolts to put it in there. When I
Looks
take it out
good.
to powder coat it, I'll probably upgrade that hardware to something a little higher grade.
Well, if it's a rally car, I mean, shouldn't you just like spray it in place and let the chips fall where they may?
But I have a powder coating system, so I have to use it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry. That's a great project, Steven.
Wait,
Yeah,
there's
and
more. No, wait, I made it back up. This is now mounted.
so this is like those U-bolt style connections I made. I actually just created a 1/4 inch flat bar on top and put nuts and bolts into the flat bar from underneath.
I would like to ask, this is a wonderful piece of photography. Did you have Christine holding up the front of the car while you took these photos?
The car is on a small lift that I have in the garage. It's called a quick jack, right? And it lifts all 4 wheels off the ground, right?
Oh,
That's
there
the
we
quick jack.
go.
Yeah, I think that's the last photo. Maybe it's not. Oh, I did include sort of my bill of materials, what I ordered for this, showing the steel that I ordered. It was that was one of the 2 plates you saw. The other is for another. Possibly, we might need another skid plate in the future. Right.
Stephen, I can't let it go unsaid. I love your redacted document. As somebody who plays Redactyl on a somewhat regular basis, I love your redacted document here. This is great.
Wow, you have a metal supermarket? You're so lucky.
Yeah, and do you know these guys? I think they should be.
No, I have no idea, but I love the idea of a supermarket for metal. You just go in and like, oh, I'll take 3 bananas, 2 oranges, and a piece of light gauge alloy.
Yeah, so they're all over the U.S. Let's see. Wait.
Wait, I liked their tagline, any metal?
Let's
Oh, wow,
say,
there's one near me.
Yeah. Danbury? Is that
Oh, it's
near
in
you?
Danbury, Connecticut. There you go. Everything's in Danbury. That's where the Trader Joe's is too.
Is that far from you?
Nah, for this part of New York, no.
Yeah, so you could go there and you could order steel, and the cut to length, the reasonable prices from my
No,
experience.
can we see Minnesota for a second?
No.
I want to see Minnesota. You got to hold the
Uh,
option key.
Let's see, Rochester.
Sure, that'd be close enough. I don't think so.
They're looking pretty East Coasty.
Okay.
Oh, is that one in Minneapolis?
Yeah. Up in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, Roseville, of course, Roseville.
Yeah. That's where all the good things come from.
Don't you have to go to the Twin Cities for everything, basically? Like, I don't know,
So
that kind of thing.
we have La Crosse, Wisconsin, and we have Rochester where we go for the big box store. But if we want to go see anything cultural, we're going up into the Twin Cities for the Guthrie or other world-class facilities.
That's a great project, Steven. Matthew, you wanted to show us some drawers, I think.
Yeah, no, I think I would compliment Steven just a little bit more on the skid plate for the rally cross. That's very well done. And you guys competed in your first event, yeah?
Yeah, we did our first event. Oh, should I show a picture of that? Hang on.
You think The Rock would drive it?
Oh, I think Mr. T would drive it.
Oh, Mr. T. Okay.
Good old B.A. Baracus.
Exactly. B.A.
Do you have that theme music going in the background when you're doing the montage as you're building out the dun 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 dun?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So here's some photos of the car in action at the.
Oh, this is right out of Knight Rider.
Exactly.
That's a pretty nice finish on that car for doing motocross, man.
Don't worry, it
I
won't
know,
last.
right?
It won't last.
It's got like what I call the 20-foot finish. It looks great from 20 feet.
Oh, okay.
But like the paint is peeling in certain areas, and we bought it for a low price.
And hopefully it
I-
wasn't. Hopefully Mac wasn't the one who knocked those cones down in the previous photo.
He did his fair share of cone knocking down.
Okay, so there was a little bit of that. Okay. I'm going to go with share my screen. I'm going to go with the share the entire screen technique. There's my OBS running in the background for everybody's curious how we're getting these things up and about. And I just brought up, I had already, there's the picture right there that I wanted to show. So
Awesome.
I think this is the way to go.
Wow.
I'm going to go ahead and hide my video panel. I'm also going to go ahead and just for my own personal satisfaction, hide the floating meeting controls because they bother me. And then here we go. Oh, it went away. But this is my photo, like this, and then I'll zoom in just a tiny little bit. This is my set of drawers that I made about a year and a half ago, and I just got around to finishing it this past fall. So this is made out of some figured cherry for the drawer for the door fronts here. You can see just a little bit of sapwood. If you look at the door that's open, at the upper left-hand corner, you can see a little bit of sapwood there, but that doesn't show through on the front. So I was okay with that hidden piece there. And then the two larger drawers on the bottom are just full-size drawers, so they're a little bit to wrestle with. And then there's four interior drawers, and those drawers are made out of Purple Heart lumber and then soft maple. And so I went with some, it's not really veneer, it's too thick to be called veneer, but the Purple Heart is probably 3/16 of an inch thick,
Hmm.
and then the maple is providing another 3/4 of an inch. So just under an inch for the sides of the drawers and the drawer bodies, and then those slide on runners. So I've cut slots on all the sides of those drawers, and they just run on wooden runners. I cut out notches on the front. I couldn't put handles on them because when the doors close, the drawers are right tight against them. And so um, I think I'm very happy with how this piece came out. We tried a couple of new techniques with this. For the first time, we used a hard oil. So a hardening oil, Osmo is what we used on this product, and we were very happy with how the Osmo worked out in terms of a finishing process. If I had to do it again, I would have actually done a second coat of the Osmo. It's now 6 months later, and we're suffering just a tiny little bit. There are some spots that have weeped, and so some more of the excess oil has come back out of the pores. And so I need to maybe when I open the shop here in another month or 6 weeks, I'll be able to get out and refinish the top, put another coat of Osmo on the top to deal with that weeping that happened. One of the things I'm very proud of with this project is if you see on the open door over to the right, you can see some of the figure that's happening in this cherry, and the figured cherry that I use for the drawer fronts and the door fronts. I was very, very happy with how it turned out. There's always a concern when you work with cherry that it's a very blotchy wood and it doesn't finish very evenly. And in this case, that figure really came out very consistently, and I'm very happy with the coloring that I was able to get. Part of my mission brief from LED was that I was to talk about a mistake. And before the show started, we were talking about this. I suffer a great deal from the maker's dilemma, as Stephen called it. Um, I want very much to talk about the problems with my project. Like I want to show you all
You
the
see
defects.
all the flaws when you're finished, Matthew?
So it's not just that I see them, but I feel compelled when people compliment me on the work.
Oh, to
I
point out the errors.
Yes, I have to walk around the piece and show you why it's not like
Go do it.
So Trish and I have a rule. I'm not allowed to talk about the defects in my work. So one of the things that I did, you'll
Good
notice.
rule.
So here is, and you'll notice on this spot right.
Here's the defect.
Oh, no,
You're
you're
breaking
not
the
supposed to
rule,
talk
breaking the
about it.
rule.
Well, you told me that was one of the briefs
If
is
you
that I
get me
had
in
to.
trouble with Trish, I am driving over there and just like, ugh.
Okay, so this drawer here, I actually dropped during the production process. And so I dropped this drawer in the spot, and this corner where the sapwood was, the sapwood is not as strong. So this coloring here above that where the handle is much more heartwood, right? It's the hard, solid stuff you want to build from. And then the sapwood on the outside of the tree is much lighter, and it's not as dense. And so when I dropped it, I biffed the corner. And so what I did, because I'm not allowed to talk about the mistakes that I made, what I did instead was I repaired my mistake using a piece of alternative wood. And so I used a piece of the Purple Heart left over from the drawer front, these drawer fronts here. I used just a little cut off of that to put in down there at the corner of that drawer to highlight that, hey, maybe secretly inside you're going to find some Purple Heart. So I was trying to give a nod to, hey, inside this piece, you'll find something. And it also gives me the excuse then to talk about the mistake in a design fashion where it's not actually, oh, I made this horrible mistake. It's
It's not
look
a
how
bug, it's a feature.
correct. Look how I was being nudge, nudge, wink, wink to my audience of, hey, look, I've got a little secret thing. If you look right here, I'll show you that secret thing that's going on. So I thought it was actually a neat way to put in the design element.
And this is this item is of your own design?
So I copied a piece, and I don't have the piece that I copied from. The piece that I copied from is much more intricate. It has more carving. It has better, like up here, you can see I used very simple joinery. I was much more craftsman style than green and green. I didn't do with like a, arts and crafts style. I went more craftsman style with it. And so I was going for function over form. But the piece that I copied from is this same idea of having drawers hidden behind doors with two large drawers. So by and large, I copied, but then I didn't do any of the intricate pieces. I wanted to keep this piece much more simple. So I wasn't doing the complicated molding. I wasn't doing any of the inlay work that exists on the piece that I started with.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like it. I like it a lot.
So probably if I would have prepped better and was slightly more professional at this show, I have probably 70 photos of the in process work of how this thing was coming together. I tend to post a lot on Instagram. So maybe as an artifact, I could include in one of the folders for this episode some of the in progress work because you wanted to talk about the process a little more. I was just going to talk about the finished piece. So after hearing
You
about
can
your
talk about
shed,
whatever you want, Matthew. I mean,
well, we're having fun, right? The
there's
whole
no
point is
content police on this thing.
we're having fun is what we're doing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if you had a link to the like a public folder with those photos, you could
Yeah,
drop that in the show notes,
yeah,
you know?
Oh, that's right.
100%.
I was supposed to talk about something that went wrong.
That's so I was trying to say that when I was
Yeah.
talking about the
Okay.
Purple
Okay.
Heart thing.
So my thing that went wrong was once I got the triangle trusses up, I chickened out and I was like, oh, the hell with that Claire story. I'm not going to do it. It's too much trouble. What a pain in the neck, because it was just too much, when you look at the top here, it's just too much, right? Like all this detailing and all the extra trim and all that junk. But I got some guidance from my partner in life that um, that she wanted to declare a story in a relative, and that was some direct feedback. And I was like, you're right, honey. I should just go ahead and put that on there. So I went ahead and stuck it on there. And of course, she's completely right. It looks 50 times better with the Claire story on it. And I should not have chickened out from my original design and sort of shied away from it. So I'm glad she was there to encourage me midway through the project in mid-August and say, hey, get it right.
Maybe the way to ask it is if we could ask the question, what about this project caused you to stretch your skills?
I think the fact that so when I started the Clara story, I had never done any custom windows like that. And so, building windows was a new excursion for me, but I love, watching somebody's YouTube stuff, learn a little bit about glazing and then going in there and giving it a try and kind of screwing it up. And one of the cool things was I discovered that my local Home Depot will deliver. Like if you give him an extra $5, the guy will actually drive from the Home Depot with the stuff. And
Wait. So it's not $5. Could you actually talk about what was the expense of having the delivery fee?
I think it was either $5 or $7, something like that. It's like having a pizza delivered because the Home Depot is pretty close, but I didn't feel like driving over there and picking the stuff off the shelves, and so he brought it over here.
Steven, what does it cost in your area to have things delivered from the home improvement store?
Dude, I'm so cheap. I've
You wouldn't know.
never
You
done
bought
that.
a pickup truck. Right. Here's how you're cheap. You both bought brand new pickup trucks in order to go to the store to avoid the $5 delivery fee.
That's exactly right.
That's how cheap we are.
Yeah, but when I'm up on the roof and like it's a good dry clear day, it's worth it to have somebody deliver the stuff so you can just keep rocking.
So, Led,
Yes.
what I was getting, I'm sorry, Stephen, I cut you off. Go.
Yeah, sometimes you measure a project and how many trips to Home Depot you have to make.
Yes,
True. It's true.
yes, truth.
All
So,
right, well, I
no,
thought
no,
it, I
so
thought
I wanted to say, so when I go to
well,
Menards, which is my local big box home improvement store that we have in Winona, they want $50 to deliver any quantity of things. So I can buy one 2x4 or I can buy 5,000 2x4s and it costs me $50, right? Or I can rent the Menards contractor truck for $17 an hour and have Trish drive the pickup truck with all of the materials that I've just bought. Because the problem with Led's solution is I have to give them SKU numbers and I don't get to pick the specific board that I want.
yeah. I usually buy fasteners, like buying the pieces of glass, buying fasteners, buying tooling, all that stuff. That's pretty fast. But you're right, Matthew. I would not. So usually I can't stand just buying lumber by the hack. I have to go and look at it.
Yes. Yes. I'm sorry, Led. I cut you off. You were going to give us a nice newfangled wrap up.
Yeah. So I had a good time talking to you as always, my brothers. Yeah, hi, there we go.
No. This might be
Are you doing virtual high five? I thought you were
no,
doing virtual.
no.
Matthew, don't leave me hanging.
I'm doing
Give me some love.
production.
All right. Okay, boom. There we are.
I'm doing production work here. Stephen did not get the opportunity to talk about either a stretch or a defect that he had in his process.
I did it so
Ah,
quickly that you guys didn't notice. I
Slick.
said I ordered too much steel. So I did. One problem was, and this is always a challenge for me, is ordering the right amount of materials, right? Y'all talk about going to Home Depot or whatever. How do you know how many boards to get, right? Can you return them?
you
With the
should get a
metal,
lot.
what?
How many should you get? A lot.
Right.
And then
So,
your partner in life is like, oh, I'm so glad you have put all these extra things here.
yeah, like I got that just in case I need it for the next project, of course.
Yeah.
So how do you dispose of the used steel? Can that just go in the local debris bin at the end of your driveway?
Um, Gosh, it all depends on your proclivity, your nature, right? Um, if
You
you
should build a
are
shed and store it in your shed forever.
if you hate the environment, you can just put it in contractor cleanup bags at the curb and they'll take it, right?
Okay.
If you're trying to be conscientious, there's a metal drop off at the local pound dump that we can put it in the metal place. I'm fortunate that I belong to that makerspace. The makerspace has a end cuts bin for metal, right? So I can, like in the wood shop, they have end cuts from the wood. Like if I have a 4x8 sheet of Purple Heart and I only use, 4x4, yeah, right. I'm being silly. And I only use 6 foot of it. And I have 2 foot left over. I could put that in the bin, and that would be gone the next morning.
Yes. Yeah, yes, it would.
You got to rely on somebody in the shop is more of a cheapskate than you.
Well, there are hoarders out there, people that will take things from those bins, take them home, and store them for years, right?
Um, I'm going to go on record, and I know that's trying to get off. So my last thing here is at the Home Restore. I went down to my Habitat Home Restore, and
Oh, those places are great.
going to do a tabletop with tile. So I was going to tile in a tabletop, just put down a piece of substrate and tile for the structure of the top. And I found a box of tiles. I was so excited for like $4. I could buy this entire box of tiles. And that was 17 years ago. And the box of tiles is still sitting in my garage, completely just collecting dust.
Nicely done, Matthew. That's a good one.
But it was only $4 for me to be able to store that for 17 years.
Yeah, and when you figure that most places either to own or rent them are about $1 a month a square foot, that's you're winning.
Yeah. All right, Led, you've hosted an excellent episode. I believe it's
Oh, thank you.
Steven's turn will be next. I think we're back to, so we've done the full circle. Our first 3 episodes are in the bank for the newfangled workshop. And Steven will have the structure for the next one. And we'll see how episode 4 works out here in 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, and both our subscribers can enjoy our next episode then.
Well, so we do need to
Right.
start distributing the links. We have episode 1 is published as of this date. Episode 2 is coming out shortly.
That's
And
right. And,
episode 3 is
you
ready.
click subscribe and notify bell.
Yes. And if you're on your phone, make sure you go into settings and turn on notifications.
Hey, click subscribe right here. I don't even know if there is a subscribe. I don't even know what that is.
I'll have a link up here to the second episode, to the first episode. If you want to start from the beginning, it'll be right here.
Yeah, and I'm not, and for the record, for all the haters out there, I'm not actually afraid of ghosts. Okay, that's what I got going on there.
I'm going to stop recording now.
All right.